they are dealing with their own business, but using our own data. So that is a business that they do, and because due to the importance of this data, they are recording each and every aspect of the data, right? Certain insights from that will be used for their decision making purpose or their betterment of their thing. So so now the Facebook is named as Meta. So it is man companies now: Meta, Amazon, Apple, Google, Netflix, and so on. So these companies are dealing with the users' data, dealing with the data for building insights. So that is why we say data is the new oil. So data is, in the same way, the crude oil or the crude oil will be going through the refinement process and getting our petroleum products and so on. The same distillation process will be there for data as well, right? You collect data, that is, we call it as a raw form, the data in a raw form. This will be collected and you do the analysis, right? Then sometimes you do you make machines understand this, right? So this kind of jobs and this kind of analysis and things are getting evolved in a faster pace. So similar to the crude oil will be taken, refinement, similar to that, we will collect data and we do refinements and we do analysis for the decision making processes. And this is just to understand and just to make sure that we all are in the same room. When I say these terms, as we move along, you should know, right, what is data. As we know, data is collection of raw facts, and something is missing from that raw facts. And what is the thing that is missing? Missing is the context. What is context? The surrounding details about something is called the context. So when we say data, right, the context is missing. That is why it is called a raw, right? You cannot do anything further without adding the surrounding things. That is called a context, right? So if I will be saying certain numbers, for example, I'm saying 50, 52, 63, 75, and 90, right? That is a kind of data. Why? Because apart from you saying those are just a sequence of numbers, you do not have any further information, further surrounding facts about the same, right? So that is why it is called data. And if I say the sequence of numbers represent the marks of 5 students in a class, then what will happen? The data will become information, right? That you're adding context, okay? The marks of students, that is a context. Now you understand, okay, first student has got this much mark, second student is this, third is this, fourth is this, fifth is this, and the average mark is this, and the third student's mark is less. Okay, so those are the insights that you can build. Now we are asking the question, why, right? Why the mark of third student is less? Then you start investigating and you are asking a lot of questions. Then what will happen? Then you will get certain knowledge, right? Okay, the student was absent in the class, or he was having certain health issues that has prevented him from attending the classes. So you derive a lot of things by asking questions, and you have all these things. Then what you should do, right? What you should do to improve the score of that student. This is a simple example for everyone to understand, right? Then you apply all the findings to do something, and then we say that is called the intelligence, right? You build a lot of intelligence and then you are applying that intelligence, right? So we do have data, information, knowledge, intelligence, and we do have a pyramid as well, right? This pyramid you will be getting in from a Google search. You can search it as say data, information, knowledge, wisdom pyramid. So there is as you can see here, from moving from this data layer to the information layer, right? You are adding context, you are deriving meaning. From this knowledge, you are deriving insights, and you are creating that wisdom. So this is a refinement process that I was talking about. When you collect data, right, there is a distillation process. You choose, okay, from these sources I need to collect data. Then you take the data, you add several contexts, you derive meaning, then you derive insights, and then you get the actual wisdom, right, or the intelligence that you have to take the decision making. Then categories of data, again, not a new thing to many of you, I believe. There are different types of data that is being generated around us, right, on a daily basis or on a minute-to-minute basis. And we can categorize all this data into three buckets. The first bucket is called the structured data. The second is called the semi-structured data. And the third bucket is known as the unstructured data. So what is structured data? As the name implies, it will be having certain structures. Structures in the sense there will be a fixed set of the formats, right? The fixed formats, and you record data into that fixed format. One example would be the relational database management system, or RDBMS, where we record the details in the form of tables. For example, you are creating a student table. So obviously, there are certain attributes that you should record, but in a predefined way, predefined format. Those attributes can be the student ID, maybe the student registration number, student age, name, address, parent's name, and so on. So these are attributes, and these attributes are recorded in a predefined form. That predefined form is a table form. Okay, then that is a structured form. That is a structured data that you're recording. So what is the advantage with it? There is a predefined format, and you can just place records one after another, and the retrieval process would be easy, right? You have certain query languages. We call it the structured query languages, or SQL, right? Where you have SQL and you have certain queries in the same way you write the instructions or some notes or something. You can use the query language to write certain queries to get the data from the structured form. So that is pretty straightforward. You have a template, or you have a certain format, and you record data, you retrieve it. The next one is called the semi-structured data. So semi-structured data is not that much structured, but there are certain forms, right? There are certain things that we can identify from the structured data, right? But it is not so easy, right? When compared with the structured data, recording and retrieval of semi-structured data is a bit difficult, but we can do. I mean, after certain transformation, we can do the same. But the data will not be residing in a maybe a predefined template, but the template can be defined by the users. So, for example, we say XML, the extensible markup language. That is a markup language that is used for communication between systems in electronic data transfer, right? Or else, one another simple example that I can say is the email. So in email, let's say your content that you write is your choice, but there are certain field that you need to fill, right? There is a to field, there is a carbon copy, the CC field, the blind carbon copy, or PCC field. There is a subject, right? And then there's the body of the mail. So these fields are fixed, but you have the flexibility to record what are the things over there. Right? That is an example of semi-structured data. And the third category, that is a villain, right? That in the third category of data, that is called the unstructured data, there are no predefined structure or templates, right? So the example data would be for example, you are creating a Microsoft Word document, you are writing an essay. So that is an example of unstructured data, right? Which is not at all according to a predefined template. You are free to write anything that you are comfortable with. And the social media data that you post. For example, you are taking a selfie and posting it. That image is an unstructured data. And I mean, if this meeting is being recorded, I do have a video that is recording with my audio. So those kind of things you cannot take and directly post it in a relational database table, right? That is an example of unstructured data. So similarly, when you publish a blog article, the research papers that you see, the social media data that you speech, the signal process, signal data, the whatever the it all comes of data, and surprisingly, more than 80% of the data. So unstructured data cannot be stored directly, and the retrieval of things from unstructured data is very difficult because you do not have a predefined template. You do not have a specified language. I mean, the query language to get the unstructured data and so on. So this will be difficult. Dealing with unstructured data is difficult, and that is the way, that is a place where a lot of job opportunities are being created to collect data, to analyze what is inside the data and so on. So unstructured data. As we move along, when we say the term structured, semi-structured, and unstructured, at least that example should come to your mind, right? Structured, there is a table structure. Okay, semi-structured, there are certain templates, but you have the flexibility. Unstructured data, there is no template or no structure, and the storage and retrieval would be difficult. And it's a surprising fact that the 90% of the data that we see today around us, it is generated in the last few years. There are several reasons to it, and most of the reasons are centered around the digitization of data, right? So we know, right, the social media, the emergence of social media is something comparatively new, right? And people were using all these data recording things in a pen and paper model earlier. They were keeping all the things in ledgers, in the registers, in the notebook, in the diaries and all. But now we do have the digital equivalent of everything, right? We do have a digital say right? The thing that you can, there are many things that you can record it online, and even you can schedule the meeting accordingly and so on. So the digitization, due to the rapid developments in the digitization and information communication technologies, the data generating and data, producing and consuming platforms have been exponentially increased. As a result, what has happened? The data around us was also growing in a faster manner. And now we do have data about almost anything about the world in our fingertips. So 90% of the data that we see today was generated in the last few years. That is just a statistical information for you. And a couple of questions to you, like have you ever used a Google translation service, or you had a conversation with a virtual agent at least once, and have you ever used a spelling or grammar correction tool? So these are just questions to you, and I know, right, for many of you, the answer to these questions is yes, right? The responses would be yes. Why? Because we always use the Google translation service, right? If you want to convert something into some other language, for example, we have written in something in English, and we want to convert that document into, say, Malayalam or Tamil or Hindi, or in any other languages, Google Translate will help you. The second thing, the chances are very high that you might have had a conversation with a virtual agent. That virtual agent can be anything, right? Some agent that will be popping up from the top right corner of a website and saying, "Hey, how are you doing? How may I help you today?" and so on. Right? In almost all the websites, you can see such a conversational virtual agents nowadays. And there, for example, there will be a flight booking app where some agent will pop up and how may I help you today? So you will be saying like, I want to book a ticket. So obviously it will be, that agent will be collecting more details about you, right? From where to where you want to go, on which date, which class, what type of food preference, and so on. And based on that, they are providing certain options for you, right? You can book the tickets in a seamless way, right? Without clicking there and all, just typing and all, or else even you can speak, right? So the chances are very high that you at least had a conversation with the virtual agent. And now the question, right? Almost all of us might have used the chat GPT. That is an intelligent agent, right? It's a virtual agent. We might have had many conversations with the chat GPT. So answer would be yes. So the third, have you ever used a spelling or grammar correction tool? Obviously, Personally, I use it a lot. Uh, there are tools such as Grammarly, right? There are many other tools like Qlboard, Grammarly, and all those things, and uh, which might have been used, whether you are a researcher, you are an educator, or from some other domains, you might have used any of this. So, no, so if you have used any of this knowingly or unknowingly, you are a consumer of an NLP application, right? So all these applications, these are I mean, three just representative applications. There are plenty out there, but whether it is a translation service, whether it is a virtual agent, or whether it is a spelling or grammar correction, uh, all these applications are backed up or powered by natural language processing, right? So, what exactly is NLP or natural language? The language that we humans speak or write is known as the natural language. So, NLP means natural language processing. That means uh, the language that we humans write or I mean speak should be processed, right, using certain computational techniques. That is a whole idea of natural language processing, even though there are several definitions available based on the level of understanding of people, right? The level of understanding of how advanced NLP. There can be several definitions, but for just understanding what exactly is it, NLP is actually an interdisciplinary field of artificial intelligence. Why interdisciplinary? Because NLP derives, I mean, the uh, information or context or things from other streams as well. For example, NLP derives things from the linguistics, right? The linguistics, the anthropology, or probability and statistics, machine learning, right? Visualization. There are plenty of fields from which I mean, natural language processing takes its concepts. So it is interdisciplinary, and also NLP can be applied to several domains, right? So that makes it completely interdisciplinary. And NLP is a interdisciplinary field of AI. AI is a broader umbrella that we know, right? Under which we do have NLP, machine learning, and so on. So AI is a broader area under which we do have NLP, and that empowers or that instructs or that makes the computers to interpret, analyze, and generate human language in a manner which is very similar to the human comprehension. Right? This is just a one-line definition. If you want to know more about, I mean, other definitions, you can obviously do a search. There will be plenty of such definitions. But for the sake of understanding what exactly NLP, it is a interdisciplinary field of AI that deals with making the computers understand the human language. That can be spoken language, right, the speech, or it can be a written text, right, or something. I mean, in whatever way that we humans represent language, that should be taught to a computer. So, making a computers to understand human language, it was actually a scientific dream, and I hope you might have heard about Alan Turing, who proposed the Turing test, right? The conceptual test that happened in 1950s, uh, and Alan Turing was just randomly throwing a question: can computers understand human language, or can computers act like humans? So at that time, so you have to think, like, these many years in 1950s, it is very long back, when even personal computers were not there. Computers were having that the transistors and vacuum tubes and all those things, right? Uh, uh, people started laughing hearing this question, right? Oh, computers are dumb machine. People are saying, like, computers are dumb
There is,
machine. They are electronic devices, right?
no, there is a
So
question from it. There is a question from it. I mean, hand raise
yeah.
is there. I mean, you want to raise any question?
So shall we take the questions at the end?
Yeah, okay,
Or
fine. Then, yeah,
so that would be better for me, or else the continuity may be lost.
yeah, yeah, okay,
So
okay,
these
fine.
questions will
Fine.
be available there in the chat box, right?
Yeah, then participants, please write the queries in the chat box now itself.
Yeah, sure, sure. Maybe after the session, we
Yeah.
will take the questions one by one. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, so right from the beginning of the Turing test to the current Chat GPT that is in 2022 that got introduced into 2022, there were a lot of revolutionary changes that happened in the field of AI in general and specific to natural language processing, right? So at that time, people were making a lot of joke and saying that this is not possible. And then only Alan Turing proposed a conceptual test where I hope some of you might have gone through the Turing test procedure, right? One computer in one room, there is a separation, and there is one human in another room, and the interrogator will be continuously throwing questions to both the computers and machine. And at some point, if the interrogator or the person who asked the question may not be able to understand, right, from which room the answers came, then we say, right, I mean, it has passed the Turing test. So, I mean, from that conceptual test to the current chat GPT, where we surprise, right? We as a user will be surprising, is it a machine or there is a person sitting at the other end to provide all these answers? So, the chat GPT, that intelligent agent, which has a generative capabilities, right, even can generate the responses or can converse with the human in a human's language. That is a development that has happened, right? But it has started in 1950s, and till 2022 there were several revolutions that happened with the field of AI and NLP. But anyway, this is a basic, and why NLP should excite you, right? So as I said, the more than 80% of the data in the world is unstructured, which means it does not have a structure, and it is very important to identify crucial information and insights from it, right? And major share of such unstructured data is textual in nature, and NLP can power many applications that will be having real life or real world implementation, such as language translation, the question answering systems, and chatbots, document summarizations, and so on. And NLP help you extract the insights from a vast amount of unstructured data. So these are a partial list of reasons why NLP should be right, or why NLP should be one of the focal point for you. And there is a huge scope exists there for the NLP research. And some of the NLP applications, I'm not going into details of these applications because we all might have used many of these applications listed over here: the machine translation, the information extraction, the named entity recognition, right? Named entity recognition means you want to find certain information that is of relevance, or to identify the persons, right? So maybe the person's name, the location, the organization, the time, money, and all this information can be identified. Uh, then comes the core reference resolution. We humans are good at core reference resolution. For example, if we say the sentence, Ram is living in Kerala, he studies in Bangalore. Okay, so we know that he mentions, or that the mention of that he represents to Ram, but the computer may not be able to understand. So those kind of things we use a lot of research in, that is called the core reference resolution. There comes the question answering. Uh, I don't have to say more about it because we all do the same thing, right? You can, right now there are NLP powered systems available where you can select a bunch of PDF documents, upload it, and then you can start asking questions in the natural language. The same way we communicate with other humans, and the system will be able to extract information from the PDF document and present an answer to you. The similar way the ChatGPT also works. And there is plagiarism and paraphrase detection. Uh, this may be one thing that, as an educator, right, I praise the power of NLP, and maybe as a research scholar and as a student, people will be saying this. This is right. They don't like, actually. They don't like the plagiarism and paraphrase detection per se. So plagiarism, right, making I mean text or some other contents copied from other sources without citing, without providing proper citations. And NLP now can detect plagiarism. I hope all of you might have used Turnitin or Authenticate or similar softwares, and there are level of similarity contents and level of overlapping similarity will be taken, and that will be presented. And there is sentiment and an opinion identification, that identifying the customer's behavior and saying whether the customer is responding positively or negatively to certain reviews and so on, or products and services and so on. Then speech recognition and synthesis, one of the active areas of speech, NLP application, natural language processing application, where identifying right analyzing the speech signal and saying what the user has meant, what the user has told, and so on. And from a geographically diverse country such as India, there is a huge scope for the same, and which is not so well studied in India, but there are several attempts that are happening now in the speech recognition of particular languages. And most of the speech recognition, if you search the research, will be inclined towards the English one. So the English speech recognition systems are there. Some more or less kind of sophisticated things are available, or saturated research things are there. But there are several or plenty of languages where the speech recognition is not at all attempted. So there is a huge scope for the same. And there is topic modeling, where you analyze a larger set of documents and unearth certain keywords, topics, and so on for you to understand that the computer can do. So all these are, these are just some of the applications. If I keep on telling about the applications, and I will be spending another 1 hour, going through all the applications and so on. But just try to understand all these applications are powered by natural language processing capabilities. And there is other right NL, or natural language techniques available. So NLP, that we have seen, interdisciplinary area, that deals with making computers
Hello, Anu. Hello. Hello. Anu, you're
yeah
muted. Yeah.
yeah so NLP, NLU, and NLG, I hope you have heard this. NLP is a broader umbrella, and NLG and NLU is being the sub areas of NLP. And the natural language understanding is it's a bit say complex thing. It's a subset of NLP, obviously, but it involves transforming the human language into a machine readable format, most of us, and refers how unstructured data is rearranged so that the machines may understand the context meaning the surrounding facts as we have seen, and interpret and analyze it. And how to create an ontology, a relevant ontology. Ontology means just description of things, collecting many other surrounding facts, and then creating a graphical structure or something like that, so that the computer will be understanding. If you say a particular word, the computer may understand more details about the same. Right? So that is a process where that's called NLU, natural language understanding. While humans naturally do this conversation, for example, if I say something like the Prime Minister of India, many things might have come to your mind, right? The Prime Minister's name is Sri Narendra Modi. He was born in Gujarat. He is now in Delhi, and several other things, right? That is from our brain. That is from our mind. It has created. So Basically, that is kind of a graphical structure where we connect things. So in the similar way, can machines make this ontology? Can machines make this structure so that when we say Prime Minister of India to a machine will do the same thing as we humans have done, right? So those natural language understanding, and which in a single sentence it focuses on a machine's ability to understand the natural, that is the human language. And NLU is the main focus of NLU is to interpret the natural language, derive the meaning, identify the context, then derive the insights. And for example, consider these two sentences. Sentence 1, Alice is swimming against the current. And the sentence 2, the current version of the report is in the folder. So if you look at the word current, the humans, as we humans, we will be in a better position to say the context. So the first context, if I ask a human, the human will be saying, okay, there is a like a flow of water, and Alice is swimming against that flow of water, preferably, or maybe in the sea, right? And the sentence 2, the current version of the report is in the folder. If I ask the question to the human may say, okay, an up-to-date version of the report is in the folder. That is what the sentence 2 means. But if the same sentence is introduced to a computer, right? The computer is only knowing, right, the current. Current means something else, right? So the Alice is swimming against the current, and the current version of the report is in the folder. According to a computer, the word remains the same, right? But we have to say the context of the compute. If the computer is able to guess or identify the context, then that would be better. So this is the thing that the natural language understanding will focus on, making the computers understand the context, so that the responses from the computer will be according to the responses. And there is something called a natural language generation. That is a current area, the generative.
Participants, please mute your mic. Yeah, please continue. Thank you.
Yeah. So there is a natural language generation that is a hot topic, right? Everybody is now talking.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, now it's audible. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is natural language generation that we talk about generative AI, where the AI systems have the capability to generate new things, right? That is ChatGPT is a perfect example for the same. And there are systems where images being generated. You can just tell the context. Let's assume you can say to the computer, let's assume I am landing in the moon, and there are certain images. These are some of the images for me, and the computer will generate a new image for you, right? That is a generative capabilities. So first we have identified, right, how the natural language can be processed by a computer. Then the second thing, we are attempting how to make the computers understand more things about it, that is context understanding, NLU. And now the computer will generate the responses for you in a human, near human accuracy and things. So that is called a natural language generation. So generation becomes the difficult thing. Processing and NLU becomes comparatively easy to do. And right, there is again a sequence of steps like content analysis, data understanding, document structuring, sentence aggregation, grammatical structuring, language presentation. So don't get confused with these sequence of steps. Just try to understand. We are focusing on NLP, right? But there are streams like we have to make the computers understand the context, and accordingly the computer will generate the response. So we have to spend a lot of time making the computers understand the context. That is what even if you have used the chat GPT, that is what we have to do, right? If you are simply asking a question, the response from the chat GPT may not be that much satisfactory. What you have to do, you have to refine the context. You have to, that is called the prompt engineering, right? A new set of uh, uh, right, the job profiles that is being created. So you are telling the computers, you're telling the computers that, okay, this is the context, this is the context, then accordingly give me the answer. So that then only the perfect response will be given to you. That is called a natural language generation. So natural language processing, the area, as I said, it was started with the 1950s, where the Turing test and all those things has been proposed. And with that, again, the natural language processing has evolved into several phases. So this graph highlighting certain developments that has happened with the NLP field. And you have, say, in 2001, there is neural language systems or artificial neural network based systems have been developed. In 2008, there is multitask learning that happened. You train a model and you extend, or in the process of training, the model will be learning multiple tasks, or it will be used for multiple tasks and so on. In 2013, something happened, that is word embeddings. So word embeddings, meaning you do have right vectors of words, right? The vectors of words, where you might have heard the name word to vec, globe, and so on. So those are called the pre-trained language models, right? So word embedding models. So you take a larger corpus for, say, let's say the Wikipedia, all the Wikipedia data. Then you train certain neural network or deep learning architectures or some other neural network architectures, and that will preserve the context or the meaning of the words. Then that is known as the word embeddings. And from NLP, I mean, the earlier systems or earlier NLP research was focusing on the bag of words as a technique, where you have a bag containing all the word, and you are just checking whether the word is present there or not. Then you are creating some vectors. That is called a bag of words. Then comes the TF-IDF, the term frequency versus inverse document frequency, where you will be quantifying the relevance of a word in a document, that is term frequency. And then suddenly there is something that happened with the word embeddings. So word embeddings were able to preserve the context in a more better fashion than bag of words and TF-IDF, and people were developing systems which are able to preserve the meaning, identify the context in a much better fashion. So then what happened? This evolution continued, right? Evolution continued the sense, okay, word embeddings were found to be really good. So why can't we train some more word?
Anoop, you're muted. Hello.
I don't know. Someone else is muting me. I don't know who is it. Okay.
Participants,
So
please don't take control because Anoop, actually Amrita has a Teams link actually like that. Anyone can
no
unmute
issues,
Namrata.
no
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
Maybe by mistake only they are doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No issues, no issues.
Yeah. Please
So
take care of
so so
participants. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So word embeddings. Then people thought, like, can we add more data and then create more models, more robust models, which will be able to understand more context to make the meaningful or meaning-aware applications. Then what happened? In 2013, the neural networks, the complex neural networks or deep learning for NLP has been introduced, and then people started training these kind of pre-trained models with more data and more advanced neural models or neural networks. And as a result, in 2014, there is something called a sequence-to-sequence models introduced. In 2015, attention mechanism. That was it's a game changer. It is actually a game changer for NLP field. And there are pre-trained language models, more pre-trained language models introduced in the year 2018 and so on. And now what is the state of the art? Now the state of the art is the attention mechanism, right? So I'll be winding up this the NLP, and we'll be moving into a social say science or social NLP very soon. And why I'm saying all this, even though if I introduce the concept of social NLP, you should be in a better position to identify where it has started and what are the things, the current state of that. Then only you can do some advanced research on the same. Right. So now everybody is, I mean, attention is all you need is it is the title of the paper that you can see from the screenshot, right? And surprisingly, this paper has got, as of today, 84,519 citations, right, from the research world. And you know, right, 84,519 for a single paper, it is really groundbreaking. So people were thinking like, what is novel with this attention mechanism, or specifically there is the technique is called the transformers. Okay, transformers. So the advent or the development of transformers architecture was a game changer. I mean, not only for NLP but for other fields. But for NLP, it was significantly say disrupted. The field of NLP was disrupted. And there is something called an encoder decoder model and so on that you can check it later. But the idea is that the title of the paper is very fancy, right? Attention is all you need. That is what we need, right? In a classroom, to understand what the instructors are saying, we need attention. When we do have a conversation, we have to listen. What are the crucial points the speaker is talking about, right? The presentation that I'm giving to you, the session that I'm taking to you, you have to be attentive, at least to identify some of the major things that I am telling in this presentation, right? So literally, attention is all you need. So the crux of this paper is, in the similar way, we focus on certain points as an important thing. For example, if you read a paper, even though we will be reading the paper in full, maybe a research article in full or a blog article in full, there are certain focal points that we will be concentrating on, right? So that was the idea they have proposed in this paper, right? You have to, even though you have to read, you have to weight certain portions of the data more relevance, right? You have to add certain more weights to certain relevant portions. That is the attention that you need. So people thought, okay, that is good. So if you identify those portions where we have to focus on, right, we will be getting more context, right? And with this, there is a lot of pre-trained models. There is a lot of advancements in the NLP that is happening now. And the best example, the GPT. GPT is the foundation model, generative pre-trained transformers that we have seen. The GPT, the bird, everything is based on the transformer model, or based on the attention mechanism. And there are more papers and more advanced bleeding edge research papers are being introduced based on the idea of attention. And this is the talk of the town, I should say. And if you want to do certain advanced research in the NLP, that you should at least read this paper and try to understand what is attention, what is encoder, decoder network, and so on. But anyway, the current things that we use today, right, to do things like the chat GPT, the foundation is the attention or the transformer models. And there is a pre-trained language models. As I said, pre-trained language models, you take large set of data, then you train, let's say, deep learning models, where that model can preserve meaning, or you will be getting better representation and context of data, right? So with this attention mechanism and all, people started collecting more and more data, and that is the way ChatGPT or GPT has even trained, right? They have collected the internet scale data till 2021 September. So that is the reason if you are asking something about the current development or current news to the ChatGPT will say, sorry, I am not able to answer the same because I was trained on data till September 20. And uh, they have frozen the data collection till September 2021. Then they started training the model, and in November 2022 they have announced the ChatGPT, right? And what they have done, they have collected data, they have trained certain models, right? The deep learning models, and this model is made available, and anyone who need to use the GPT, they can get this model. They don't have to train the data from scratch. So that is why it is called a pre-trained language models. So pre-training meaning somebody else has trained and which is made available to you, and you can take this model and you can build your application. Sometimes you have to maybe a little bit of training or a little bit of data addition have to be done, but obviously you don't have to start from scratch. Okay, so this is called a language models or pre-trained language models. If you ask, there are they started with the word to vec, then glow, then there comes BERT, several variations of BERT. Then there comes XLNet. There are GPT, lot of pre-trained models which are available. And this introduction of this BERT is also was a game changer, because the earlier models, right, such as the word to vec, the initial models, the word to vec, glow, and all these things were trained on a subset of data, subset of internet data. Okay, and there is a high possibility that a particular word is not there in the data that they have used for training. So in such cases, that may throw an error, which is called an out of vocabulary, OOV, right? So in order to avoid that, a complete English data, right? A complete English data set has been collected by someone, and they have trained a model. And this out of vocabulary issue has been rectified, and that is known as this BERT. Okay, BERT. So BERT is a general language model. So because BERT is not it was trained and it was not distinguishing certain domains. It is collected. It just went and collected all the data out there without looking at the domain. So we say, right, it is a generic language model which you can do it for general purposes. And the BERT was trained on Wikipedia data, a lot of Wikipedia data, and it could solve some of the challenges faced by earlier base level models, and that is why BERT has become very popular. And I said there is a pre-trained model available. Somebody has trained a model who has enough computational capabilities and infrastructures. They have collected the data, trained a deep neural network, and that is called a pre-trained language model. And there is another set of people like me, as I am interested in applied side of NLP research. What I will do, I will take this pre-trained model and I customize it for my own use, right? And that process is known as fine tuning. If you are hearing this term for the first time, make a note of it, and you can read things about more on this maybe later. There is a pre-training and fine tuning. So this is the hot word that is happening with the NLP world now. You have pre-trained models, and on the other hand, there are fine tuning. So fine tuning is the process where you extend the capabilities of pre-trained models to some other task. Okay, as you can see here in this picture, you have all the Wikipedia data. Then somebody else have collected BERT, that is a model, pre-trained language model. People are taking this BERT model, they are customizing it for certain tasks, such as question answering, such as sentiment analysis, such as name entity recognition, and so on. So this is the process called the fine tuning of a model. So, for example, as I said, the BERT was a generic language model. There were no distinguishing between different domains. They collected all the data without looking at the domain of the data, say entertainment or history or science and tech. Without looking at these topics, they have taken it and they trained a model. But people later realized that there is a scope for the domain specific data. For example, some scientific data or scientific literatures are there, right? For example, in Scopus, Web of Science, or in PubMed. So people thought, okay, why can't we collect such data, very domain-specific data, and train a model and customize the BERT and train a model? Okay, then people started collecting domain-specific data. So, for example, there is something called a SciBERT available, which is scientific BERT. So, on which data they might have trained? On scientific literatures that they have collected. There is something called a FinBERT. Obviously, as the name implies, there is a set of financial documents on which they have trained the BERT. There is something called a legal BERT, obviously on legal data, maybe the case histories, the judgments, and so on. On such kind of data, they have trained it. So now it is there is a base models available, and people are customizing it for certain domain specific models, or they are creating these domain specific models and publishing it for others to use. Now the question, right, where maybe you can use this, or where you can from where you can get these models. So there are libraries such as Hugging Face, right? You can visit huggingface.com, where you can click on the models. There are menu items, the models. If you click on the models, you can see all these models. You can search. For example, if you are working with customizing it for maybe healthcare, right? You are applying NLP for healthcare, then obviously there are pre-trained models available for healthcare data. Okay, if you are working with the financial domain and applying NLP, you can obviously use FinBERT. Right. Similarly, there are domain-specific models available. And what exactly these LMs can do, or language models, or this kind of pre-trained models can do, they can do the tasks they have been trained to do. For example, if they are trained on a specific data like the FinBERT, okay, financial documents, they can do certain tasks related to finance domain. And if you are asking very specific questions to it, maybe based on climate, it may not be able to answer, right? So it is just like you train someone to maybe cook chapatis, and then at the end you are asking him to make biryani. What will happen? The person may not be knowing how to make biryani, right? Because you have instructed him to make chapati. That is the best example that I can say. In the similar way, there are language models trained on certain specific tasks on specific data, right? And that is the way that they are trained. That is a kind of response that you can expect from them. And people, they were claiming the ChatGPT was not able to clear IAS exams, right? And ChatGPT was able to clear certain exams, right? The Wharton MBA that you might have saw in news, and so the medical licensing exam of the US, which is considered to be one of the toughest exams that the ChatGPT has cleared, and somebody from India have used the ChatGPT to get the answers for the IAS questions. Obviously, ChatGPT, could answer many of the things, but several updated things ChatGPT was not aware about, right? Because the data was till September 2021, and this person might have asked several questions that are very recent, that the ChatGPT could not able to answer. So that is what these LLMs can do. They can do exactly what it has been trained to do. And now people are talking about LLM. So you know what is language models or pre-trained language models. Now people are talking about LLM, increasing the capacity, or large language models are being developed. And in the GPT also, if you check, like GPT-3, GPT 3.5, now GPT-4 is available, which is having larger capacity, right? So similarly, there are a lot of developments that are happening with the large language models, and the use cases: text generation, as we all do, right? The translation, the summarization, content rewriting, conversation, and AI. These are the LLM use cases. And to check for the the advantages of LLM, people say like LLMs are good because if you want to customize something, if you want to develop your own NLP applications, this language models will obviously help. When you compare the bag of words or TF-IDF or older approaches for contextualization or older approaches for extracting the information from text, LLMs will be maybe 10x or 20x efficient, right? And extensibility and adaptability, that is one of the advantages where you can extend this for other domains, other areas. You have the flexibility to use it. You can customize the way that you want. The performance is much better compared to other approaches. Accuracy and ease of training, that is again a debatable one, but as you know, right, you might have surprised with the responses generated by ChatGPT. It is very accurate in many of the cases, but if the context is not known, then it may also be failing to answer. There are challenges as well for LLM. The development cost, the operational cost. Obviously, you need large because training an LLM is a compute-hungry process. You need large memories, a large set of GPUs and all, because you are dealing with a large set of data and deep neural networks. Then the bias and explainability. Obviously, the data needs to be undergoing a sanctity check. It should be, otherwise your model will not be correct. It may give certain bias, and some right decision has been taken, some content has been generated. What made the model to generate this content is called an explainability. So that is again a challenge, bringing that explainability part to the LLM. Complexity, hallucination, right? What is hallucination? At certain point, ChatGPT or any other models, sometimes if you check it, if you check the responses, you may think that the ChatGPT might have used a certain or ChatGPT is already drunk, right? Because at sometimes maybe for some certain out of context things and all, ChatGPT is generating some content which is not at all relevant, right? That is called the hallucinations and so on. So there are several challenges as well, and the GPT have already communicated this. So we are moving with the NLP for social sciences now, but I hope I was able to convince you right from the data till the recent development of NLP. I assume that you have got a pretty, say, good idea on what is data, right? What is information, knowledge, intelligence, and so on. Type of data, structured, semi-structured, unstructured. And then there is something called, right, how you extract things. So NLP, we have seen what is NLP, where it has started and what is now going on. We have seen the differences between NLP, NLG, and NLU. We have seen what is pre-trained models, right? What is BERT, what is pre-training, and what is fine-tuning. What is transformer, what is attention mechanism, and what is language models and large language models. So in the coming years, or now also in the coming months, I should not be saying coming years, because in I mean new language models, large language models are being introduced in the tech world, in the NLP space every month actually. So there may be or there are developments that are happening to create this kind of models and publish it, which will be having 10x capacity compared to the ChatGPT. I mean the GPT models. So there are a lot of companies and organizations doing those kind of research. So in the coming years and months, there will be war between these companies on publishing and introducing and deploying large language models, large in the sense with maybe trillions of parameters, right? So this is the developments in the NLP world. Okay, now if you are interested in the social science, let's say you want to analyze the behavior of society at large, right? Or else you apply this NLP techniques on some kind of societal data, and you are interested in such kind of qualitative studies, or basically you want to find out how society is behaving, or what is the societal attitude towards certain measures maybe taken by government or so, or if there is a pandemic, how societies is actually behaving towards that, what is their responses, whether they are positively responding or negatively responding to certain government measures, and so on. So there are a lot of societal problems. Okay, so and I suggest all of the researchers, if there are researchers, I suggest all of you to check those dimensions as well. So if you take a model and you like do some customizations and you improve the precision, recall, and accuracy by 1%, 2%, that is okay, right? From the publication point of view, that may be significant, but there are several analysis and systems that can be developed for the society at large. Okay, and there are you can recommend the government and policy makers. Okay, this is the way the society's behavior is going on, and you have to do, or you have to create a policy based on, I mean, considering this fact as well. So those kind of recommendations you can give to NGOs, governments, and other administrators, and it is very interesting to analyze such social behaviors. Trust me, even I was not very much interested in this NLP for other interdisciplinary areas such as social sciences, but I have done some explorations in this dimensions, and it is very interesting. So social NLP, right? There is a broader thing called a computational social science, and social NLP comes under that, which is social NLP is a new interdisciplinary area of language processing or natural language processing and social computing. So social computing and NLP is combined, and people say like that is social NLP. And in this, I mean, in the remaining slides, there are not much slide, but in the remaining slide, I will take you to the world of social NLP, and I will be giving certain recommendations on some of the problems and challenges as well. Okay, so social science, I believe I mean, participants out there from the social science field. But anyway, for the general audience, I'm saying social science, as you know, is a branch of science which is devoted to the study of societies and the relationship between the individuals within the societies, how people are communicating, or how the language is evolving, or what is their attitudes, or how students are looking at the society, at the technology world, and so on. So there are several problems that we can take. And to be specific, it's a group of academic disciplines dedicated to examine the human behavior, and specifically how people interact with one another, behave, develop as a culture, and influence the world. That is some more specific things, right? And there are debates and discussions or controversies such that there are say 5 subfield for social science. People say it's like 7 subfield and all, but according to major literatures, there are 5 subfields of study for the social science. One is on the anthropology, the second is on the economics, third is on the political science, fourth is on sociology, and the fifth is on social psychology. But there may be other materials and textbook that will be saying like criminology is also a thing, and so on. So there are several other fields as well. But anyway, social science is in general, it attempts to examine the human behavior of a society at large. Okay, that is a social science. And the NLP and social science, how you can bring in natural language processing to the social science world. As you know, right, language, that is a bold term, right? That is a crucial word for us. So language is actually a rich source of information about people's knowledge, opinions, beliefs, their goal, their social identities, their social alliances, and all. And because people from different societal contexts will be using different types of languages that we know, right? It is not the language the maybe people from a specific geography is not same as that from maybe the urban areas or rural areas, and vice versa. And for everyone, the language is a common thing, right? That is a thing that we use to communicate. So the majority of the computational social science or computational social social science work or researchers across the globe is focusing on identifying the linguistic diversity or linguistic evolution kind of things, but there are several other problems that you can look into. And large scale analysis of data is invaluable for research in the social language and that language data, because the way that we communicate in social media is not the same way that we write a blog article, right? And it is not the way that will not be communicating with our friend or our supervisor or our or SAR or a teachers, right? And this NLP, combining this NLP and social science, there are several problems. And to be frank, in the Indian context, there are not much research that are happening, even though there are some resources that I can show towards the end that you can look into. There are some researchers that are researchers from India that they are actively applying NLP for finding the social issues and social behaviors. But there is a lot of scope for improvement, and new things needs to be added, because in the Indian context, the thing is that the language diversity is very, very high. Like in US and all, like if you speak English, that is some variant of English, but that is true with some other countries as well. But in the case of India, what happens, in Kerala you speak one language, in Tamil Nadu you speak another one, in Tamil itself there will be several variations, right? In Hindi there will be variations, then Marathi, Telugu, all these things. And it is very interesting to understand those kind of language evolution, how people behave and so on. So there is a huge scope for the same. So I want to highlight certain research areas that you may find it useful, and you can note down these areas and you can read more on these things, right? The content analysis on social media. Why I'm saying this social media is that earlier approaches, there were social science research that is happening a lot of social science research is happening in India and across the globe. So some decades back, what happened, the data was collected using field work, right? If you are a social science researcher and you want to get some data about certain aspect about a society, you have to physically go there. You have to collect the data. You have to fill the forms and so on. Then you have to come back and digitize the same, maybe in Excel or some other tools like that. Then you have to plot, chart, graph, and analyze and all those things, right? Then some years after this, what happened? There were digital world that were emerging, and digital surveys were there. Digital survey in the sense you can create nowadays that is very common, right? You create a Google form or Survey Monkey or something, right? You use certain applications, you create the questions and you circulate that in a digital world. Okay, so you will be having maybe your supervisor will be forwarding, or you will be having the friend's email address, WhatsApp groups, LinkedIn, and all those platforms. You will be posting this link, and somebody is interested, they will be filling the form, right? And other kind of the other mechanism to get the data is to analyze the social media or collect the data from the social media. So social media, as you know, right, the number of users using social media applications, social media platforms are getting skyrocketed. And you will be having Facebook, you will be having Instagram, you will be having WhatsApp. WhatsApp is not a social media; it's a chatting kind of thing. But you have WhatsApp, you have Twitter, you have Reddit. What else? There are many other platforms where people come share their views and so on. And why can't we use? Why can't we get the data? Right? That is the question. So now people, the survey method is there, the online surveys are there still, but people use the social media as a platform for data collection. So content analysis on social media is very, very important. So what are the research topics available out there? One is the concept level sentiment analysis, how people are reacting towards certain events or certain products or services, or from the government point of view, certain governmental measures. Okay, so one interesting thing that you can do, like if you are interested to do this, is there is a data protection bill that is being presented in the parliament now, right? That is specific to India. That data protection bill is there, and there are several debates and controversies that are happening, that people will be sharing their views on Twitter, Facebook, and so on. So why can't you go there and get the data and then do a analysis? That would be an interesting area, because that will be beneficial for governments and other stakeholders to identify, okay, are there any amendments that needs to be done, or what the society is thinking about the new data protection bill, and so on. That is an example. So similarly, you can identify many problems. Okay. Then summarization of posts on social media. Summarization meaning without reading many of the things, and can we summarize it in one line? Because many of the social media will be having right, the restrictions on number of words that should be posted, but some of them do not have that restriction. But anyway, can you do a summarization of social media to get a summary of what people are talking about? Then named entity identification from social media. That is another thing, like are people mentioning certain people's names in their post? Can it be identified? Then entity resolution, multilingual information retrieval. So multilingual information retrieval, right? We people mix things. We say code mixing and so on. There are technical terms, and we sometimes we will be writing in Malayalam. Sometimes we will be writing in English, or sometimes we will be writing in Tamil and then English. Then what people do with social media, they will be mixing this kind of things, right? So, if you are mixing Malayalam and English, we say like we are writing in Manglish, okay? And then if you are writing Tamil, in Tamil and English is being mixed, there is something called the Tanglish and so on. So now it is a common trend. So the classifiers or the other systems or NLP systems trained on only one language will not be able to understand the context or understand the information that people are sharing using mixed languages. So there is a scope for this kind of thing. So if you are particular about content analysis on social media, these are the sub problems that you could look into. And sentiment and opinion identification from social media, very important. Big social data analysis. We all know what is big data. The amount of data is very huge that a traditional computer program cannot solve it. So you have to club different computer systems, and then you do the processing parallelly. So big social data analysis is one area. Opinion classification, tracking, and summarization. So let's say election has been declared, how people are reacting to that. Maybe one, what is their favorism towards one party with the others, and so on. What aspects that they are discussing, and so on. Then there comes sarcasm, convincing language, and deception detection. This is social media is an open platform. Anyone can post anything, right? But there is a moderation. But still, we know, right, there are several abusive comments and abusive content that will be displayed in the comment section, in the post, and so on. Can we identify those things so that maybe a potential conflict can be avoided with other people, and so on? So then sentiment analysis and HCI. HCI means human computing interface, human computer interaction per se, like how well we can develop sentiment analysis systems taking into the human computer interaction, how well they are interacting, and so on. Then real world sentiment analysis systems and applications. Can we deploy it for certain real life applications, and so on? So these are on the sentiment and opinion identification from social media. And there is a disaster management and social media. There is less research that is happening in India, like as per my knowledge. Disaster management research is happening, but from the NLP perspective, can we collect this disaster data and train models that will be able to understand certain things is still pending, or still it is in the infancy stage in India, but in other countries that they are happening. And can we, because disaster management or disasters is a social issue that will be replacing several humans, that will be causing damages to their lives, and so on. And there is disaster mitigation. There needs to have disaster elimination techniques, proper disaster management techniques, and so on. And can we combine the social media data or the social science data per se and disaster management, and then apply NLP techniques on the same? So there are several sub problems that people are attempting. Modeling global events based on social media text, identification and geolocation of social media content. For example, it is not very common in India because Twitter is the number of users in Twitter is not so very common, right? In other countries and all, what they have done is that when a disaster happens, maybe a flood or a landslide or a fire or something like that, what they will do, they will post it in the social media. Okay, at this location, at this time, there is a fire outbreak, or a wildfire outbreak, or there is a flood. Uh, can we collect this data to identify the location, the geolocation? Okay, this is the location where this has happened, and so that the rescue team can be managed and sent there immediately. So those kind of things are in place in certain countries. And disaster or disease prediction and forecasting. So that is one of the important thing that we should look into. If there are certain outbreaks of diseases, can we from the social data from multiple sources, can we do can we collect the data and do an analysis, a linguistic or natural language processing analysis to help the different stakeholders. Monitoring emergency responses among social crowds, that I have already told you. Exploring social media for crisis response, search and rescue. Identifying the people's need. For example, if there is a flood and the persons are stranded, then obviously they will be having multiple needs. Some may be needing clothes, some may be needing food, some may be needing water. And what if they will be posting this in the social media? And, can we take out those things and identify, okay, this is their need and so on, so that the rescue teams will be managed, better deployed. And the information disorders, this is one of the very active areas of research across the globe, and in India also there are a pretty good number of applications that are coming from very specific groups from certain reputed institutions. And fake news detection on shorter text. And the fake news, as you know, right, it is not a legitimate news, and knowingly or unknowingly, people will be spreading it, right? If you're getting a news feed there, the Facebook, you may not be checking the genuinity. Rather, you will be just liking it or you will be just sharing it. So what will happen if it is a fake news? This will be reaching to all your friends or your connections, and then those connections will be propagating to their connections and so on. So the spread will be very fast, right? So that is one of the curse of digital technologies and social media per se. Like the speed at which this fake news are being propagated will be very high, right? So can we avoid this? Identifying, okay, let's take certain NLP kind of techniques and identify, okay, this is a fake news and this should not be posted to the social media. Those kind of research is very important. Hate speech and cyberbullying, like several right discussions towards certain communities, let's say minor communities and under represented communities. That needs to be avoided. Fighting against machine generated fake news, that is one of the active area that even you can do your PhD on or your advanced research on. Because earlier we were only worried about people creating fake news and spreading it. Now what happens? As I said, there is generative AI. So this generative AI, or let's say take the case of NLP, that is maybe the ChatGPT case. You can you can cook a news, right? A news which is actually not there, and then you can directly copy paste the same thing into a social media, and even you can generate certain fake images and post it. Right? So that is a machine generated one that you didn't create it, right? But the machine has generated it, and you are posting it. So while posting, do we have, or can we develop a mechanism that the system itself can say, okay, this is generated by machine? That itself is very good. And as an educator, this is I mean, not the fake news, But this is one of the challenges even we all are facing. I think all the educators out there or teachers out there will be agreeing to me that we do not have a mechanism to check whether assignment a student has written is has been written by him or a chat GPT, right? Even though we claim there are certain AI content checking tools, but those are not accurate, right? So those kind of things needs to be developed. Fake news generated by machines, and there is multi-modal fake news. The fake news will not be only coming through the text, right? It is not represented only by text. There are like multi-modal, means images and text can be combined. For example, you take an image and then you paste the text on top of the image and then you post the image. What will happen? The text understanding things will not detect it. Why? Because there is an image. So can we do an advanced systems where this kind of multiple or things from multiple modalities will be processed? And explainable AI for information disorder. Explainable AI, as I said, everything was black books, and now people have started talking about why machine has taken that decision should be known to the user or known to the person who is using the system, right? And there is a lot of research that is happening in the explainable AI things as well. So these are only some of the areas that I could highlight, and there are plenty of sub areas that maybe you can think through it, where NLP will or NLP can be used in the social science research. And this is another active area that I can recommend also, because this is one of the areas that I have looked into. NLP for the infodemiology. So the term infodemiology may be new to many of you, I believe. And there is something called an information. There is something called an epidemiology. So infodemiology means the people will be posting a lot of things about health per se in the social media data. Okay, so I mean this was very much happening during the COVID-19 time, where people were spreading fake news, people were posting a lot of actual news as well in the social media platform. Because we all were locked up and we were in rooms, and mobile phone was the only friend we were having at that time, right? So we were also very conscious. We were also very anxious about what is happening in the COVID-19. Is there any vaccine that has been deployed, and so on, so on. People were thinking, and then now, like I recall that there were some people said there were some leaves and all. If you eat it, what will happen? The COVID-19 infection will not be affecting. So those were the news that people were posting. So identifying such cases, and from the right, the COVID-19 times, people were eating in the sense having a lot of medicine, and thinking that this medicine will prevent COVID-19. And they, even if they, I mean, for example, if they are taking some antibiotics and they are posting it like, if you take this antibiotic, you will not get a COVID-19. It may be true that for that person may not be getting it, but what if other person seeing this news and having antibiotics, where he was having several complications, right? So identifying such kind of things, that is identifying information from such epidemiology related things, is very interesting. Okay, and I have done certain research in those dimensions, where one thing that I have done, not related to COVID-19, maybe you can think and broaden your research horizon looking at this problem, because there are many other things that you can do. I have taken the monkeypox data. So I haven't taken the COVID-19. Maybe after this, there was a after this COVID-19, what happened is, like, there was a monkeypox outbreak, which was not very common in India, which was not identified in India. I mean, in certain parts only, but in US, Canada, and all, there were the number of monkeypox cases were skyrocketing. Okay, so I was just checking, like, okay, is it interesting to identify, like, how people are responding to monkeypox, because we actually have an experience of fighting with COVID-19 So is there any overlap or people, what is the connection between COVID-19 and monkeypox? So that is a spark that came into my mind, and I thought of collecting certain data. And this data I have collected from the Reddit platform. So Reddit is another, it's not a social media, like when you compare Facebook and Twitter, it is not a social media, but it is a kind of a news aggregation. Different types of news will be aggregated into a same platform, and user will be coming there and posting their comments, enabling discussions and so on. So those data was collected, right? Because I was not having access to Twitter API at that time. So I wrote certain Python code and pulled all this Reddit data. Okay, and this data, there were like 8,000 or 9,000, not 9,000 comments actually, but I have collected 13 to 15,000 Reddit responses related to monkeypox, and I have done certain NLP analysis. So the first thing that I have done is the sentiment analysis. The second thing is the topic modeling. All these things are NLP techniques. So I have done this, and you can see from these images there are several words of discussion, the topics of discussion that were there in the comments, like vaccine removed, spread monkeypox, smallpox, the transmission, gay, infected, and all these things. And if you drill down this graphs and information, you may be knowing that when the monkeypox cases were going on, some target groups were there, right? For example, there were some news that were coming that this monkeypox will be spread through the male-to-male sex contact, right? And what happened? The LGBTQ communities were most affected because people were saying negative things about them and so on, and government was not taking enough measures to protect those communities. So there were several challenges faced by these communities and so on. So this is not just the one topic, but there are several other topics. And some of the interesting insights I could build is like people were talking like it is just like a smallpox, because some pimples kind of things would be there in the skin and all, and people were thinking it is a smallpox, and they have taken injection for the smallpox, but it was not actually smallpox. And people were asking a lot of questions and all. I have been vaccinated for COVID-19, and if COVID-19 vaccinated, will I be getting monkeypox? So those kind of discussions were there, and these findings were published in this journal. Maybe you can go check this paper and read in detail what I have done. And similarly, in these dimensions, I have taken some social data and applied NLP on this measles cases as well. And the case with the measles is that uh, there were uh, uh, right due to the COVID-19, the vaccine supply chain was disrupted, and due to that, the children were not getting measles vaccines. So the measles case have gone high, and again, I have applied this NLP kind of things to understand this. And sentiment analysis, that is one thing that you can do, combining NLP and the social media. So data collection may be a bit tricky. For example, if you're looking at Twitter data, or you have some experience working with Twitter data, now there is a restriction in collecting Twitter data because all these APIs for the researchers were closed now, and I haven't used Twitter for a while, but I heard that their data is not being publicized for the researchers. So people are now moving to platforms such as YouTube comments, the Reddit, and there are some other platforms where they could collect data and they do the research on. So this is a interesting dimensions that you can think through it. And there are several future research directions maybe I can highlight. One is the bias and fairness in social NLP. If you are specifically looking at the social NLP problems or research problems, you can check how a model is biased, or how a model is fair in terms of social aspect, or the social data. You can check a lot of things on emotion and sentiment analysis. The socio-political discourse analysis, as I said, in the case of how governmental measures are reaching the citizens and how they are reacting to it, social influence and network analysis, cross-cultural communications, how different cultural groups are behaving in a social setup. That is something that you can look into. Narrative analysis and identity of people from the social media. As we have seen, the social NLP for crisis management. What if there is a crisis that happens, and how we can use NLP over there in the social data. Linguistic analysis of online communities, right? Because in social media there are people from different classes, how they are distinguishing from each other on using their own language. And then ethical considerations in social NLP, how how ethically we can do the social media or social NLP analysis and so on. So these are the broader spectrum of future research directions that maybe you can look into. And some of the challenges that you may be facing, or the researchers in the social NLP and computational social science at large are facing, is the noisy and informal language. As you know, right, we write very informally because it is not a professional platform, it's a social media platform. So the people language will be normally informal. They use a lot of slang, abbreviations, misspelling, grammatical errors, and so on with the social media. So, and there will be a lot of noise as well, noise in the sense unwanted URLs and all those things. And how we can create a noise, how this noise can be removed and how we can convert this language into a formal language is one of the challenges. As I said, bias and fairness. When you analyze social data or social behavior, there will be societal biases for sure. And you have to be very vigilant at this bias and fairness area when you use the social media data or social science data per se, social data. Social biases may lead to biased models and analysis. So if you use the biased data, then what will happen? Your model will also be biased. Your model will be giving incorrect outputs. Privacy concerns, very, very important, because earlier we were not worried about the privacy concerns and all, and we were just going there collecting data and all. And each and every platform, they do have their privacy terms and conditions, and you have to read through. For example, Reddit, Twitter, all these platforms will have their own restrictions on how to use their users' data. And this once you collect this data, it should not be shared with the public, right? Any personal identified information should be removed and so on. And now, almost, I'm not saying almost all, but many countries are having their data protection and privacy bills passed. And India is also having one, and it is there, and it has passed in Lok Sabha, I suppose. And what if those laws will be in practice? When you collect data, you have to get the consent from the user. For example, if you are contacting a user to get a survey done, then you have to give a consent form. Okay, your data will be collected for this purpose, and which will not be used for any other purposes, and which will not be used for publishing any other data and so on. Right, those consents should be get it signed by the user who will be providing the data. Then the data sparsity and volume. Then cross-cultural variability, right? Models to be adaptable and culturally sensitive. If you take if you collect data from a very small geographic area, then your model will be only applicable to that one, right? Then you cannot derive conclusions for another geographic area. So when you collect data, cross-cultural variability should be preserved. Then there is temporal dynamics. Temporal dynamics is the social media is very dynamic, right? The discussions, the active discussions, the nature of the active discussions may change as we move along. So those things needs to be considered. The legal considerations. What if your data is leaked? The data that you have collected is leaked, and the user is filing a petition in the court that your data is leaked. So those legal considerations should also be taken care of. And generalization to new domains, how generalizable your NLP model to other areas as well. So maybe you can note down, or I will be sharing the slides with you. If you are interested in extending NLP to the social science world, these are the areas that you should be very careful, and these are the challenges that everybody is facing, right? And some tools and techniques. This is a tip, right? If you are specifically looking into or looking to enter into the social NLP world, obviously you need to know the language, right? A programming language, because at many times you have to write a script to collect data, to do some analysis, and so on. So programming language knowledge, maybe R and Python. If you know both of this, then that would be good. At least one should be known to you. I use Python a lot, and NLP libraries. There are NLP libraries out there, and you don't have to write all the code by your own, right? You don't have to write each and every statement for doing the task. Rather, you can use these libraries. NLTK, one of the very important old library, but still it is being used. And advanced libraries such as FASI, TextBlob, GenSim, all these libraries can be used to analyze data. You can collect data. I mean, there are libraries for you to collect data as well, such as TweeP, SNScrape, etc., that you can get data. Then data visualization. Many times you have to create visualization, and you can use the networks, X, Seaborn, etc. There is Jupyter Notebook for you to experiment with this one if you are comfortable in Python. Then pre-trained models that I have mentioned earlier, right? There are several pre-trained models, and when you apply the NLP to the social data, make sure that you use the latest trends and techniques in NLP. Otherwise, your research may be outdated, right? You can use BERT. As I said, it's a generic one, but there are several variations of BERT available, as we have seen. For example, if you want to analyze the mental health and well-being of a society, there is a pre-trained model available on the mental health documents that is known as mental BERT. And there is climate BERT that you can choose. And yeah.
Shall we go to QA?
Yeah, winding up. Just one more slide. Yeah. So there is a FinBERT that you can use, and there is ML libraries that if you want to train your classifiers on, that you can use. So these are some of the tools and techniques that you should be knowing if you want to land into the world of social NLP. And some resources for you to start with. The first one is a Coursera course that I found it very. I mean, this is a course from where I have started looking at it. And there is a course called the Computational Social Science by Mr. Martin Hilbert. Very useful course. There are sub courses available, and you should go there and check what are the things available. It is available in Coursera. And Summer Institutes in Computational Social Science, which is a very good platform to understand what exactly is happening in the social NLP world. In India, like there is a postgraduate program in computational social science and NLP that is offered by IIT Jodhpur, that you can check their website to get information. And IIT Delhi, they do have a research being on computational social systems. They do a lot of research on fake news identification and all that you can check. And social NLP workshop with ACL, the top conferences, will be a great place for you to start learning things. So with this, I'm winding up because the time is up. It was a very pleasure talking to you, like presenting my findings and taking you all to the world of NLP, I mean, to the social science and how this NLP can be best applied to the social science problems and so on. And obviously, you can contact me at any time. I mean, related to your research doubts, or if you want some guidance, or if you are looking for some collaborations, I would be happy to collaborate with you. Mail ID is anoop.vs@duk.ac.in. And you can visit my website as well, anoopvs.in. And this is a QR code for my LinkedIn profile if you want to send me a LinkedIn request, because I'm mostly active over there. I'm not using Facebook and all, but I will be actively posting things in LinkedIn platform. So you can scan this QR code and feel free to send me a request as well. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for listening for the 2 hours. I know this. I mean, boring to look at the screen for 2 hours, but I think I was able to convince you the relevance of NLP and social science. And now we can move on to the QA.
Yeah, Anup sir, can you check the chat box once? There are so many queries there.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, how the combination of there is a question from Irtika. I mean, how the combination of ChatGPT and AI can help in opinion mining. So for opinion mining, right, I haven't used the ChatGPT for the same because I was using the manual analysis sense. I was using the topic modeling kind of a qualitative study for using this one, but. Uh, so ChatGPT for specifically for opinion mining, maybe I should look into. But there are people who do the data analysis part using ChatGPT. For example, if you collected the data and you are pasting those data into ChatGPT and then asking, okay, how many percentage of users are responding positively to this data? Can you generate the summary? And to supplement those kind of findings, you can use ChatGPT. Otherwise, I use the libraries that will be out there to do the opinion mining. Yeah. Any other questions from your side? We'll be happy to take more questions. Okay, there are a lot of questions, I think. Which NLP method is best for sentiment analysis, specifically when we are talking about e-commerce reviews or feedback? The sentiment analysis, there are plenty of things available. Like so, as I said earlier, we were just only looking at the polarity of words, like classifying the words into positive, negative, or neutral. So with this pre-trained models and sentence embedding kind of things, we can take the complete meaning of a sentence. So with the sentiment analysis, what people do, like they will be mixing up sentiment. For example, if you're writing a review about a mobile phone, you may be saying the mobile phone's camera is good, but the battery is bad. So there is a word good and bad in the same sentence. That if you take the polarity of the words, then you may not be getting a better model. So what they can do, like there is something called an ABSA, that is aspect-based sentiment analysis. In what aspect the user is saying positive things, in what aspect the user is saying negative things. So that is something that you can specifically look into, Irtika. There are several libraries out there, and now, right, I personally recommend you to look into aspect-based sentiment analysis. That would be beneficial for you. Maybe the research area is 5G. That 5G is not my area of research. Maybe if there is something that is related to NLP, maybe I can help you with that. How to get fully trained in ChatGPT and generative AI? Please give us some suggestions. I think again the question from Itika. I think you're asking about right, the prompt engineering kind of courses or something like that. There are plenty of courses out there on effectively using the ChatGPT, because now what happens, as I said, as you give more context to the ChatGPT, the responses will be very professional. And how you can do that? You can obviously get into certain prompt engineering courses, or how prompt engineering advanced materials are available that you can read through it and understand how this is right being done. And having 70,000 review entries can be used to analyze this data. Obviously, right? There is no issue in analyzing 70,000 review entries with the BERT. But the only thing that you need to have a GPU machine, or at least some kind of advanced architectures. How LLMs can be used in spam detection? That also, I think I have mentioned the positives of LLM. Right, bag of words and TF-IDF, those are actually kind of statistical measures, I should say, not very statistical, but the TF will be only giving the relevance of a word to the document. But when it comes to the language models, what it is preserving the context, right? So you will be getting more meaning out of this word vectors. So obviously, if you compare the bag of word TF-IDF and the language modeling or the pre-trained model, so the pre-trained model will be outperforming. Okay, session was good. Thank you. Thank you for the positive feedback. Again, Asha M. Riker, the question is on 5G mobile communication. Can the speech be helpful in some way to do routing in the network traffic? This is something that I should look into. Maybe we can have a discussion later that I need to check. From Ashok Yadav, how we can analyze that a particular text is biased and how to reduce the biases. For example, I hate people from that country. Is this biased or not? So the bias in the data, right, may lead to the bias in the model, right? What I mean, it is applicable in models as well. Like if you feed in junk data, you will be only getting the junk output. So first thing that you should make sure that the data is free from bias. Then only you should proceed to the model training. Otherwise, this thing will happen. So I hate people from that country. For example, the example that you have shared, this may not be. I mean, the model may not be classifying this as a biased one, but the context needs to be identified. I mean, in your comment, I hate people from that country doesn't mean that will generate a biased model. But the context and the number of data points that pointing to that context matters. Yeah, can BERT pre-trained codes have answered it? It can be used. BERT pre-trained models can be used in sentiment analysis. People have done that. A lot of work are available there. Yeah, and thank you all for the positive feedback. And obviously, like if you are, if you are not able to post the questions in the chat, obviously you can send me an email or at least you can ask there in the LinkedIn. I will be able to help you with that if you need any further help or assistance related to the NLP research, specifically in the areas where I will be doing it. Yeah, any further questions or something that you can contact me at anything.
Yeah, email is under the slide itself. That's a comment for email ID. This email ID is in the slide itself, the presentation slide.
Yeah, or else email ID I can put it here as well if they want to copy paste. So this is my email address.
Yes. And thanks Anoop sir for despite of busy schedule and just come and spend some time 2 hours with us. Thanks you on behalf of Amrita School of PA and Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham. So I would like to thank for your time and patience, and thanks participants too for a bright QA session too. Thank you, Anup sir. Bye bye.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Take care. Bye bye.